Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
These are more of the exciting people you saw on Folks in 1983. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Genevieve Stewart.
And I'm Rob Hinton. Today on Folks, we'll conclude our look at 1983 as we take you to an American Indian celebration that took place in Shreveport. We'll also share with you the talents of singer-songwriter Stevie Wonder.
We'll also reintroduce you to the first black female dentist in the state, and then travel to New Orleans to the Toulouse Theater to see that extraordinary production one more time.
The conclusion of our look at 1983 today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just people all over the world. The folks who live, folks got to give, folks got to care, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of us, who touches us all? To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks.
One of our shows in November focused on women who hold non-traditional jobs. We zeroed in on 4 women in particular. One of them is Dr. Velma Jackson of Baton Rouge. She is the first black female dentist in Louisiana.
Feminists might be disturbed that Dr. Jackson's role model was a male dentist. But one must remember that during her youth in Baton Rouge, there were few female dentists to serve as an inspiration. In spite of that reality, Dr. Jackson single-mindedly set a career goal and never deviated.
I was in the 5th grade, about 10 years old, and my aunt had a problem with her teeth and gums. She went to visit one of, our family dentist at the time, who diagnosed it as periodontal disease. I was very impressed at his efforts and success in saving her teeth, and he became an image for me. And I wanted, at that time, and I think, I've never wanted to be anything else.
Did you have a role model or a mentor?
Dr. B.V. Barranco, who is and was at that time the epitome of what I thought a good dentist was all about. And he certainly has measured up to all of my expectations and desires in my career.
Dr. Jackson has been practicing dentistry for 10 years, since graduating from Fisk University and Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. For 6 of those years, she has been in private practice. But forging new ground has neither been a hindrance nor a serious consideration to Dr. Jackson. In a confident, almost unconcerned manner, she states the reactions of patients to a female dentist.
Being a black woman in the solo practice of dentistry, have you experienced any problems being a double minority?
Well, other than having people say, oh, I didn't know we had a black dentist in Baton Rouge, female dentist. And to have a man to come into your office and realize that Dr. Jackson is a woman. But as far as any racial problems or problems with the male-female counterpart, male counterpart, I don't think so. I think just being good at your profession and knowing what you're all about and feeling confident in yourself helps a great deal.
She was one of only 2 women in her dental school class. As a result, some students and professors had to adjust to that novelty.
But then when they found out the kind of stuff that we were made out of, they quickly let us become a part of the flow of things. We had a few jokes about, women being in the kitchen or women being at home having babies or taking the place of another fellow who could actually be here. And we sort of had the idea that if he was able to be there, he would. And we were in the mainstream. We met the qualifications, and we were a part of that class because we were qualified.
Tina is Dr. Jackson's nickname for her petite stature. Tina Jackson is a dynamo of energy in a small package. She takes an active role in PTAs, church, her sorority, and dental societies. And she is a talented artist. A recent article authored by Dr. Jackson was presented at President Reagan's White House Conference on Illiteracy. Being a single parent, she feels that her extra activities are almost a necessity for a well-balanced life.
As a single parent in a full-time profession, how do you manage to be mother, father, dentist, and handle the pressures of both family and profession?
Well, at times, Genevieve, it can be very difficult. However, through, I would say, dedication to my career and to my kids, through organization, some self-discipline as well as my children being disciplined, and really scheduling your time so that you will spend quality time with your children and not have to sacrifice too many things. It can be a problem, but we work together, and we all have our responsibilities. They know that Mom can't always be able to accompany them to certain activities, but that I desire to be with them at those times, and that I certainly will be when I'm able to get there. It's necessary also to have some play. And your sororities give you the opportunity to meet some of those requirements that you wouldn't have time for if you were not in them. And also to give you a social life. I think all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, or Tina a dull girl. I have to step back and say, time out. I need a break, and I have to get away to spend some time with myself and to relax so that I will be what I should be to everybody.
Dr. Jackson is a past president of the Capital City Dental Association. Once again, she was the first woman to hold such a position. Her future professional plans include expanding her practice while continuing the personally rewarding patient relationships she cherishes.
Dr. Jackson, what is the most rewarding aspect of your practice?
Gaining the confidence of a 2-year-old and having them have a desire to return to your office for a future visit. Establishing a rapport with them such that you are able to work in their mouths without them being so apprehensive that they just don't want to have any parts of you.
Genevieve, what would you say was our most trying time this past year?
I would have to say our coverage of the NAACP convention in New Orleans last summer.
I would have to agree. There were a lot of politics, politicians, and people. But there was also a lot of entertainment from internationally known stars like Stevie Wonder.
In the air I can feel such a chill of a cold annihilation on us all. And if you've listened to the words beneath the singing hummingbird, you'll hear them cry the warning call. In the sky I can see clouds I never thought would be filled with teardrops falling down. But if you've watched with your ears, then you know the time is here for us to make the universal sound. Rise, everybody. Let's go to the next phase. Stand up and be counted in the name of love today. Rise, everybody. Don't you be afraid. We must tell all our leaders that we demand world peace today. And we'll follow you anyway. you want us, we'll be there. We're ready to run in the army of love. We'll follow you anywhere. Wherever you need us, we'll be there. We're ready to throw down in the name of love. You say today, and we will be there right away. You know, that's about it.
In October, we went to Shreveport to meet with a group of Native Americans from the South. The event was called an American Indian Celebration, and here's a little bit of what we had a chance to see. We begin by taking a look at some Native American dances. Most of the tribal dances developed out of community gatherings for religious Thanksgiving, and it wasn't uncommon for ceremonial dances to run several days, continuing through the nights. These are Caddo Indian dancers from Gracemont, Oklahoma, performing the fish dance.
It represents fish, and he said when they turn, they usually use a shawl and wave it around like fish fins. Caddo dances, by and large, are very social dances, very friendly dances, and we like for people to take part with us.
The Caddo dances are accompanied by drum and 1 to 4 singers. Caddos are known for their social gathering and dances. The Caddo Indians, according to historians, originated about 1000 AD from the Coles Creek Indians who lived in southern Louisiana. By 1400 AD, they settled in the area we now call the Arklatex. In 1835, the Caddo sold 1 million acres of land and agreed to move to Mexico within the year. The Caddo Indians who reached Mexico soon discovered that Texas had gained its independence and wanted no part of the Indians. The Caddos were escorted to Oklahoma, where each received 160 acres of land. Today, there are over 3,000 Caddos in Caddo County, Oklahoma. We also got a chance to see some Apache Indians. Proud of their heritage, the Apache have preserved certain aspects of their traditional culture, particularly in the area of music and dance. In recent years, they have revived a former warrior society dance, the Blackfeet dance, which is now the focal point of tribal gatherings. The Mississippi Band of Choctaws presented an exhibition stickball tournament. Stickball, as it is played today, is a living memorial to the game as it was originally played. The playing field is very much like a football field with goalposts set at each end. A yard-long stick with a pouch at the end is used to scoop and toss the woven leather ball, which is about the size of a golf ball. Originally, the game was a peaceful way to settle tribal disputes.
This is the oldest field sport in North America. In the Northland, it's lacrosse and has come to be the national sport of Canada. Here it is played with 2 sticks as opposed to the one in the Canadian leagues, and it's called stickball, simply enough. And the Choctaws, the Cherokees, the Creeks, and other southeastern tribes played it with 2 sticks like this. There are 2 or 3 places you can still see it. Cherokee, North Carolina plays some, and the Mississippi Choctaws and the Seminoles, Florida. When the non-Indians arrived, the Indians of Mexico, the Valley of Mexico, were playing ball. All the Indians had a ball game over here, and it has many of the elements now that you see in other sports. The goal post, for example, of the old stickball game was 2 uprights like this with a crossbar. Now that showed up in football. The game starts with a toss-up like basketball. It's about the size of a little golf ball, and you saw the tackling stuff going on out there a while ago.
Stickball remains a living sport, with annual championships held each year at the Choctaw Indian Fair in Philadelphia, Mississippi. The celebration wasn't all dances and games. There were photographs like these taken in the 1920s and 30s of Louisiana Indian communities. In addition, there was a lot of pottery, basket weaving demonstrations, jewelry and beadwork, and performances by Woodrow Haney, an Indian flute player and flute maker. Originally, all flutes were made individually for each player. Legend says that the 6 holes signify the order of the earth. The top hole was for the Great Spirit, the second for Mother Earth, and the remaining 4 symbolized the 4 winds and the 4 directions.
We conclude our look at 1983 with a bit of theater. About a month and a half ago, we visited the Toulouse Theater in New Orleans and had a chance to relive the days of vaudeville.
1, 4,
One More Time is about an era, a time in history that many of us are too young to remember, but never too young to enjoy the music and appreciate the circumstances. Its setting is one evening in New Orleans in the 1920s, when black vaudeville was at its peak, and so was segregation. Since colored acts could seldom play white theaters, there was a circuit of Negro vaudeville houses. The Old Lyric in New Orleans was one of those theaters. In spite of the Depression and the ravages of Jim Crow laws, these vaudeville troopers made you forget your troubles at the stage door.
One More Time, to me, is one of the most exciting shows that I've just about, not being prejudiced because I'm in it, okay? But the many of different performances that I've seen around the states and toured and had a chance to see, it's exuberating, it's exciting, it's breathtaking, from one act to the other.
Such great immortals as Butterbeans and Susie, Ma Rainey, and Sweet Mama Stringbean, later known as Ethel Waters, were just some of the names who graced the stage of the Lyric Theater. They lived in cold water hotels and red light districts and traveled all night for their next one-night performance. But their humor, talent, and sheer energy always came through when the stage lights went on.
That's the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me. And I should hope one of the most exciting things that has happened to anyone who's come to see it, simply because it's true. It really happened this way. I suspect it was maybe a little worse for black entertainers for that period, but I think One More Time comes as close to the reality as any other piece I've ever seen in reference to going back to the 20s and portraying how, you know, blacks survived in the business in those days. And I really lived the show. In 1983, I lived this show simply because it's true, and it happens. It's just on a different, it's a little different now than it was in the 20s, but basically, it's the same thing, you know. So to me, it's just like living it, but in another era.
The characters of One More Time are loosely based on the lives of these vaudeville greats. Bill Bojangles Robinson, Bessie Smith, Burt Williams, and the Davis brothers, including its youngest member, Sammy Jr., who lived to see their name blown up into top billing. One More Time is a tribute to them and those black vaudevillians who never made the big time, but paved the way for future performers who are here to entertain us one more time.
Tell me something about the role you portray.
I portray Ma Reed, and from what I can understand, Ma Reed was a takeoff of Ma Rainey, who was a famous blues singer back in the 20s. And to me, Ma Reed is the epitome of she just does anything and everything that a normal person probably wouldn't do. She's just herself. She's loud, you know, she can use bad language at times, but she's also Bertha's friend. In fact, she's a little older than Bertha. They've been out there a long time, and Ma is a fading star, so to speak. She's been in vaudeville for a long, long time, and Bertha is her friend, so I suspect Bertha is just bringing her along.
In One More Time, Bertha portrays the role of the troupe leader, or more or less the owner. She is, as Sadie said, she's a protege of Ma Reed, okay? She's picked up some of her finer qualities. She can stand up with the best of them, with the best of the drinkers and the luggers, and she can hold her liquor on stage, and she can belt out the blues, and she can come back and still be gentle, and she's very aggressive, okay? And as I said before in the beginning, it is her troupe. And she affords Papa Doo, mind you, she affords Papa Doo the opportunity to be the backstage manager, because in this particular production, he is her man, okay? And she's hired Thelma to be the little sweet ingenue. And it has a flavor where you can actually depict the difference between the three females. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their own role, and it works marvelous.
One More Time has experienced tremendous success. It has played on Broadway, toured 60 U.S. cities and 6 foreign countries. The musical is now entering its 6th year at the Toulouse Theater in New Orleans. Cast members have varying opinions as to the contributing factors to its successful long run.
What's the magic? What gives One More Time the staying power to run for 6 years?
I would suppose, since New Orleans is New Orleans, So many people flock here. You know, they flock east and west, but New Orleans, there's something so very special about it. And the productions that we've put on elsewhere, London and the touring company, what have you, it's just something about coming here. I've been at the door to see many tourists enter, and so many of them have seen the show elsewhere, 2 and 3 and hundreds of times. When they get here, it's just something about it. It's been said that we're laid back, so to speak, but you would be surprised how welcomed it is to see the show with that bluesy, down-home, jazzy flavor, that gumbo.
That you can't get nowhere else.
That you can't get anywhere else. You can give our rose to whoever else, wherever else. But if you're not a native New Orleanian, you just don't know. Unless you've eaten red beans and rice, or unless you've had the savory taste of gumbo, or if you have not participated in a second line, if you just viewed what, you don't know. You really don't know. It's something special.
And another thing, the people I've experienced, I've been a jack of all trades here. I've stage managed, I'm a dance captain now. Name it, Linda can tell you, and I have done it. In fact, everybody that's come through here after me, I've had to train them. That's why I feel it's the people also. It's not just the piece. The piece is a phenomenon in itself, but the people that do this show, they do it with all their heart.
Right.
And that is very important. You know, people are coming and audition for this show, and I've seen them come in here, dance, hole in this stage, sing up to the rafters, but it's something special. Yeah. You may not be the greatest singer, the best dancer, but, you know, looking at it, whenever I would look at the auditions and things, I would look for this certain thing, heart more than anything, just the heart to do it. And that takes care of most things, yes. Believe me, because that's what you need. Absolutely. And it comes out up here. You can tell.
Both actresses Linda Castle and Sadie Blake are from New Orleans. They feel that their exposure to jazz and blues as children have given their stage characters an added dimension. Or perhaps it's as one old vaudevillian said, it was your turn up, and you took center stage and let them know it.
Myself, I was raised on Burgundy Street, right in the heart of this vicinity, where the actual Lyric Theater actually was, about 2 blocks away. I had a chance to see Martin, the fisherman, and these guys wore the shoes with the diamond cuts in them and the spade cuts and so forth, and they had hats that were, it was just phenomenal to now remember. And just, I look back and the things that I had taken for granted, how much the tourists look forward to seeing these things now. So many movies that are made here in our city, they look for these type people, and I had it right in my backyard all the time. My dad is a Bourbon Street beater. He plays the best barrel house music, right? So I majored in music, and I can do the same thing, and I just put all of that into Bertha. I put the houses of transit that I remember seeing as the truant officers or what have you, with the liquor and the smuggling in of liquor and the whole little deal. And I just put it together, and it just, every night, just as I enter, I think back on that, on my way to the theater, and I think about that rugged life and what we went through as blacks during that period. And maybe the only people that were afforded a little luxury at that time were show people. We could get into places, or at that time they could get into places where no one else could. You know, if you had a chance to have a little fame about yourself, it was because you were. And this was the only time that you could say that at that time somebody was actually somebody, as if you were an entertainer. So.
Well, I always wanted to be a blues singer. Never even thought I could sing. In fact, I came to the show as an actress, from Dashiki Theater. We did serious drama, So I came to the show as what I call an at-home in the living room singer. I said, oh, Lord, I'm out here in front of all these people trying to sing. Then I discovered that I could. Out in front of people. But one particular song, like Linda said, you grow up in an environment. I grew up in a pretty decent neighborhood, but there was a ballroom, Miller's Corner on this corner, Collins Corner on this corner, and every weekend they would have the singers in there. If you wanted to hear them in one song, and I do this song today, that's why it's special to me. As a child, I would stay up at night listening at this woman singing C.C. Rider. And my grandmother would tell me if I ever catch you humming it, because I know you're listening. I would listen to this lady sing CC Rider every weekend. She would be down on that corner with a harmonica and a guitar. No serious band. Harmonica and a guitar, and I just would lay there and say, oh, God, what I would do, just go see. You know, but that's as far as it went. You know, I never was allowed to go down there, but I would look forward to listening. Never once did I. Every night I do CC Rider, I say, this is in tribute, you know, to myself, to whoever that lady was that was down on that corner, you know, singing it when I was a child. You know, so I've always wanted to do this.
Russell Rock owns the Toulouse Theater and is the producer of One More Time. He resoundingly concurs with director George Patterson that One More Time showcases New Orleans and serves as a launching pad for local talent.
The original cast did most of the original touring, and they were the New York and London casts. So the experience that the world has of New Orleans is primarily a New Orleans people show experience. At various times, the New Orleans cast were replaced partially by New Yorkers and other professional performers, but the original concept was that every cast would be seated with at least one or two New Orleanians to give them the sense of a New Orleans excitement and a joie de vivre, so that they know the difference between a second line and a bunny hop. And that was followed through in every production of the show in all 60 cities in the U.S.
In other words, One More Time has given a tremendous number of black New Orleanian performers credibility, experience, and knowledge as far as the theater is concerned, so that they could take this and continue a career. It's a launching pad of the first order.
That's our program for this week. Thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week talking to black leaders who'll be working on some of the challenges of 1984.
Until then, have a safe, prosperous, and very happy New Year.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.